and I haven't really been on my bicycle much since the last time I was on a train in Bulgaria. 8 days ago, I was in a hostel in Burgas, and I just finished eating breakfast. I'd had my coffee, and I was doing my research to make a video of Burgas, like I do. But as I was doing my research, police officers came into the hostel and informed me that I'd been put into quarantine. So I had to stay in the hostel for 14 days to make sure, because I had recently entered the country, or actually I don't think it was really that discriminatory. I think just all tourists in hostels and hotels were being quarantined, at least in Burgas. And they told me that if I break this order, that I would be facing 4 years in prison and a fine of about 6,000 euros. So this was some pretty bad news, but I don't think that the full extent of it had really sunk in yet. But regardless, I emailed my Canadian embassy, which was actually in Romania for Bulgaria. There's only consulate in Bulgaria. And I asked them if there was anything I could do to get out of this quarantine and fly back to Canada. Because, I mean, I had known that the coronavirus was going around, but I guess I didn't really picture having these kinds of issues, you know, being forced into quarantine for 2 weeks. So yeah, at this point I wanted to go back to Canada. So the embassy eventually emails me back and they say, no, there's nothing we can do about, you know, local laws and stuff like that. You'll just have to wait for your quarantine to finish and fly back to Canada right after. So I figured, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna be here for 2 weeks. So I start getting used to it. And then every few days, the embassy is sending me emails because I registered as Canadian abroad. And in every email, they're saying, you know, urging all Canadians abroad to fly back home as soon as possible because things are changing, flights are being canceled, and I keep getting these emails. And then I'm starting to think, like, wow, if I actually wait till the end of this quarantine, there's not going to be any flights left, and I'm going to be stuck in Bulgaria. And I say Bulgaria because the borders at this point are closed, and most things are just closed in general, so not really a good time to be traveling. So I, again, you know, write to the embassy, and I say, I mean, there's got to be something I can do to lift this quarantine. Like, I looked online, and it seemed that the Ministry of Health in Bulgaria was only supposed to, or they said they were only quarantining people coming from certain countries, and I was not coming from one of those countries that had a lot of cases of the coronavirus. I was coming from Turkey, which when I was there had like little to no cases. And they said, well, there is this phone number in Bansko, a kind of crisis COVID line for people that are you know, having troubles getting out of the country. So I called them, and they said, no, this line is only for the people specifically in the town of Bansko. You have to call your embassy and get them to call the foreign ministry. So this whole time, it was actually the embassy who was supposed to be doing something, but they weren't. They were saying that they couldn't do anything. So I send that information to them. You know, I reiterate that I'm going to be stuck in Bulgaria if this quarantine isn't removed, and that I don't think I should have even been quarantined in the first place. So they then contacted the Ministry of Interior, who was actually the proper ministry I needed to get in touch with. And the day after, which was today, a policeman and a government official came to my door once again. They seemed kind of frustrated and didn't want to be there, but they gave me a document saying that my quarantine had been lifted and to go back home to Canada as soon as I could. and that is why we're on this train, which was delayed, leaving at 4 now, 4:30, and I should be arriving in Sofia at around like 10:30, 11, hopefully, where I will then head to a hostel that I've already contacted, because most hotels and hostels are closed right now. So I managed to find one that's open, and hopefully they will still be there when I arrive to let me in. So we've made it to Sofia. Flights are booked. One from Sofia to Frankfurt, then a separate flight from Frankfurt to Montreal, Canada. So next thing on the to-do list is to get a bicycle box to fly the bicycle. Called the shops, and I found a box at the other end of town. So hopefully I can manage to get there with public transportation. So it looks like my flight to Frankfurt is the only one on here that is not canceled. This is a miracle. Still have my fingers crossed though. Several months later, since I was last trapped in Bulgaria. Now, with hindsight being 2020, I'm now pretty sure that coming back home was the right move. Given the global pandemic, traveling had become next to impossible, at least within multiple countries. And Bulgaria seemed nice, but I don't know, I guess mentally I wasn't ready to be spending time there beyond the allowed duration that had been stamped in my passport. And coming back home has been really nice. Spent the spring and summer helping out my parents with the lawn, the garden, etc. Things I really enjoyed doing. Building stuff that needed to be built. I got to see some friends again. Spend time with extended family. And a few of those experiences will be shown in upcoming videos. Yeah, so I've been trying to keep making videos of my time back here in Canada. And I've also been working, trying to save up some money, because I want to get back out there. And I'm not sure if this time it will be on a bicycle again. I might try something else. Had some ideas floating in my head of some kind of slower paced travel. Stopping to smell the flowers, if you will. Which might sound kind of silly, considering that I travel on a bicycle. But when you're on a bicycle, I guess mentally it can feel like there's a lot of ground to cover, and so maybe I end up not staying in places as long as I could. And I think the noticeable difference for you guys would be that I would try to make more in-depth videos of places. Similarly to when I was in Panama City waiting for a flight, and I made the video called The Different Sides of Panama City, more of a documentary style video. Or when I was in Kenya, or Nairobi, Kenya, waiting for a flight, and I made the video of exploring the biggest slum in Africa. Another one of my videos, which I think is pretty good. So yeah, so the plan is to keep working for a while, a few more months maybe. Hopefully there won't be too much of a long period where videos aren't coming out on the channel. And then hopefully I'll get back on the road. I've got a few ideas that I'm pretty excited about. I'm not going to talk about them here just because I haven't decided yet. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to whatever it's going to be. And if you enjoy these videos and you'd like to help me get back on the road and continue making content, and hopefully content that I think will be even better than what I was putting out before, then you can support this channel, Hum of the Earth, by becoming a Patreon. And I'll be putting a link to the description in the description for this video. And if you become a Patreon supporter, you'll gain access to some exclusive videos that only the Patreon supporters can see. And I think I'll be adding to some of those as well. All right, so that does. So once again, if you're still here at the end of the video and you have some questions about my travels or just me, feel free to put that in the comment section. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already for more adventures to come. See ya.